Hi guys, welcome to my channel and to my Back to Beauty No Buy year. This year I'm concentrating on using my makeup and not buying any. Today's video is a collaboration with my girl Angela from Beauty by Angela. She will be linked below as always, along with the link to her video. And today we're talking about the Pantone color of the year for 2019, which is Living Coral. According to the Pantone website, the Living Coral shade is an animating and life-affirming coral hue with a golden undertone that energizes and enlivens with a softer edge. So, before we get into the swatches within my collection of the vibes of Living Coral, I want to show you a demo for this look that I am wearing today. Enjoyed that demo. I really enjoyed creating this look for you guys. I did not go monochromatic with my look today. I just wanted to show how you can put together a Living Coral look without going monochromatic, and I think it really worked out. I actually really love this look. But on that note, let's go ahead and get into the eyeshadows within my collection that I feel like they speak Living Coral vibes. These are not spot on Living Coral shades, but they do translate, in my opinion, as Living Coral where they are applied. The first palette that I have a shade in is the Rimmel Magnifies Jewel Rocks palette. And the shade I'm talking about is this one right here. I feel like this one definitely translates. It has that warm undertone, and it's a really beautiful shade. Next is the Urban Decay Born to Run palette, and the shade I picked from this one is this shade right here called Still Shot. It has that warm undertone that they talked about, and definitely more coral than the one from the Rimmel palette. Next, from the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. So the first shade I'm going to swatch for you is this one right here, which is Candied Peach. So you can see here, it's pretty close to the one from the Urban Decay palette. And then the next one is this shade right here, Just Peachy. I think this is kind of a lighter version of the coral, true coral, right? Living coral. Next is a palette I received in BoxyCharm, and it is the Ace Beauty Grandiose palette, and I'm talking about this shade right here called Clove. This is a stunning representation, in my opinion, of living coral. There we go. Next is the ABH Subculture palette. Please don't throw things at your device, you will break it. And the shade I'm speaking of is this shade right here called Roxy, which is definitely one of my favorite shades in the palette. This is a little bit more dusty or grayed out, if you will, but definitely has the same tone. And next is the ABH Prism palette, and the shade I'm speaking of is this one right here called Eden. And Eden and Roxy are pretty similar, but I do think Eden is a little bit more warm and more true coral than Roxy. Next is the Makeup Revolution Fierce as Fire palette. This was a gift with purchase, and so it's not available, but the shades that I'm speaking of are shade 2 and shade 6. Shade 2 is like spot on living coral in a shimmer form. Oh, stunning. And then shade 6, very similar, although shade 6 has a little bit more gold to it. Actually reminds me a lot of like NARS Orgasm, or the eyeshadow shade Sissy in the Jaclyn Hill palette. Next, this is a little bit of a stretch, but I did want to mention it because I think a lot of people have this palette, and I think you could definitely make it work and translate on the eye, especially depending upon what shades you pair it with. And this comes from the ABH Sultry palette. I love this. And of course, I'm talking about the shade Bloom right here. This is definitely more pink in the swatch. She doesn't like to swatch very well though, I will say that. There's that one. Oh, and before I forget to mention it, I did watch a couple videos similar to this. I did watch Kelly Gooch and my girl Paula from A Beauty Guru Made Me Do It, so I will have those videos linked below with Angela's, just so you can get a variety and see what palettes they pulled from. Next is the Bad Habit Athena palette. This came from Shop Hush, and the shade I'm talking about is this shade right here called Valor. This one you do have to build up a little bit, but it's definitely in the coral family here. Fingers crossed that I have just enough room on my arm for these swatches. Next is the BH Cosmetics Royal Affair palette, and the shade I'm talking about is this shade right here called Lady. And again, this one leans a little bit more pink, but when paired with something else, like maybe if you paired it with this peachy shade called Primrose down here, it would translate more true coral, living coral, whatever. There's that one. And then we have the Emily Edit The Wants palette, and the shade I'm speaking of is this shade right here, which is called Laugh Cry. Definitely a beautiful coral shade in my opinion. So there is that one. And then these last two palettes I saved for last because they are the palettes that I did use on my eyes today. The first one is the Violet Voss Flamingo palette, and the shade I used in my transition today is this shade right here called Coral. And I just loved how it popped in that transition area. So there you are right there. And then going into my other Violet Voss palette, this is the Holy Grail palette, and the shade that I used all over my lid today was this shade right here called So Jelly. And this is a duochrome, but oh my goodness, it's beautiful, and it definitely pairs well with all of these matte living coral shades. A little bit more. This is definitely one of my favorite shades in the palette. There it is. Look, we got them all on the arm. And of course, you don't need to go out and purchase any of these palettes or anything like that. This video is all about encouraging you to go ahead and shop your stash for some living coral vibed products. All right, moving into blush. The first blush that I chose is in my Shop My Stash for February, and that is the Patrick Star and MAC I'm Not Blushing Blush Duo. And this is the shade of which I speak. I really think that this is really similar to Living Coral. Next is a blush that I received from BoxyCharm. It is the Laura Geller Baked Blush and Brighten in the shade Tropic Hues. Looks like this, but when swirled all together, this is a beautiful coral shade. And it's very glowy, which is one thing I like about it. I almost wore this one today. This is practically a gimme, and it is one that a lot of us, I think, on YouTube own, and that is the Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso. There that one goes. This one's definitely a little bit warmer than the Laura Geller one, and so I actually think it's a little bit more true to Living Coral because, you know, it does talk about that warm kind of golden undertone. And then a couple of blushes from Benefit. This is my Benefit blush bar. And the two that I'm speaking of are California and Gold Rush. Now, California is very bold and very coral, but it definitely leans a little to the pink side, if you can see, compared to Luminoso. And then right next to that is Gold Rush, and this is very subtle. I even think you could wear this over the California and have an even more true dupe of the Living Coral. So there is that one. The last blush, and the one that I am wearing on my cheeks today, is the ABH blush kit in the Radiant colorway, and the shade I'm talking about is this one right here, which is called Coastline. And this is a beautiful blush. I think I'm definitely shopping my stash for this blush kit in March because I want to get more use out of it. Isn't that beautiful? Next is highlighter, and these are not Living Coral like dupes in any way, shape, or form. These are highlighters that I chose that I believe would pair well with a Living Coral cheek or eye look. The first one I picked was the Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighter in the shade Precious Petals. This is the peachy one, and I absolutely think this would look beautiful with a coral cheek or a coral eye look. I also know that a lot of us have this one, so I just wanted to mention that. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I love it because it has kind of like a warm gold undertone to it. So I think that gold would really pair nicely with the coral. And speaking of gold, who doesn't own the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter, I ask you? Maybe some of you don't, but if you don't, this is extremely reasonable, less than $5. And again, this is a soft, subtle gold shade that would pair beautifully with a coral blush or a coral eye look. Next is my Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector pressed in the shade Vanilla Quartz, and this is beautiful. This is a very vanilla highlighter, but it also has like pinky peachy gold shift to it. So I think, again, this would be really beautiful with a coral look. And then last but not least, the one that I'm wearing today is the Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl Illuminator in the shade Peach Glow. Again, just like the Wet n Wild, this is a beautiful peach with warm undertones, and I don't know if I said it, but this is the one that I'm wearing today. I absolutely love this. Definitely in my top 3 highlighters in my collection. So those are the highlighters that I picked to pair with any living coral look that you might have. Let's get into lips. Let's go ahead and start with the bullet lipsticks. The first is my little Tom Ford lipstick in the shade True Coral. Now, a lot of these are a little bit more bold than the living coral, but I still think that they would be beautiful and translate in giving you a living coral look. Isn't that beautiful? And then I have the L'Oreal Color Riche Shine in the shade Luminous Coral. Again, a very beautiful coral. If you're a little bit scared, like if this scares you like it scares me, this might be a good option for you because it is that sheer color. See, there's one swipe and then one more swipe. It's just beautiful. It has a lovely smell that I like. It's not like the L'Oreal lipstick smell, and these are extremely comfortable and beautiful on the lips. And then next was this was my very first high-end lipstick. This is the Becca Lush Lip Color Balm in the shade Ginger Vanille. Ta-da! And this is definitely a more muted version, a more user-friendly coral, just like the L'Oreal one. And then last, I have the NARS Orgasm lipstick. Now, I didn't include the blush because I actually think the blush reads very pink, but I do think that the lipstick comes off a little bit more warm. There's a little more of that gold undertone to it. Some of you may remember I tried to pan this lipstick and failed miserably. And then I have 3 glosses here. Another scary product that I'm hoping to make use of this summer when I have a little more color to my skin is the Anastasia Beverly Hills lip gloss in the shade Neon Carnival. Look, one swipe, it's just like the Tom Ford. Beautiful opacity with one swipe. And then we have the Huda Beauty Lip Strobe in the shade Angelic. This is pretty similar to a NARS Orgasm color, and this is definitely muted and more metallic than Living Coral. I don't know, maybe that's not even a dupe at all. Maybe we should cross that one off the list. It is beautiful though. Wah wah, fail. And then the lippy that I have on today is the Milani Keep It Full Nourishing Lip Plumper in the shade Luminoso. But this is a beautiful coral shade. There you go. Isn't that pretty? So there are my coral lippies for you. There you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and seeing me shop my stash for some living coral vibed products, and I hope you feel encouraged to shop your stash for some living coral products. Again, it does not have to be spot on to the living coral shade. A lot of things are going to translate as that shade once they're actually applied on the skin. And I hope all of your makeup days are beautiful living coral makeup days. You saw that coming, didn't you? And I will see you in my next video soon.